No amendment to the Constitution is absolute.
Second Amendment isn't absolute, though, like any other amendment is not absolute.
We talk like there's no amendment that's absolute. When the amendment was passed, it didn't say anybody can own a gun and any kind of gun and any kind of weapon. You couldn't buy a cannon, and when this amendment was passed.
Everybody thinks somehow the Second Amendment is absolute. You're not allowed to go out and own an automatic weapon. You're not allowed to own a machine gun. You're not allowed to own a flamethrower. You're not allowed to own so many other things.
I own a flamethrower. It's perfectly legal. And it is wild watching the tyrants in this country and how comfortable they are now speaking in that way. Why do you think I've been telling you to prepare for a country turning against you? No amendments absolute. That kind of talk would have got you on trial early in this country. Now, they all talk like this. Joining me now, Marc J. Victor, United States Marine, and for our purposes today, President Managing Partner of Attorneys for Freedom. Marc, it really does floor me, man, the state of our justice system in this country and how much that way of thinking has just gotten ingrained in people. They're just very, very comfortable, Marc, telling me, hey, you don't have rights. What rights? Your rights are whatever I decide they are.
Yeah, Jesse, it's pretty much an outrage. And boy, so many problems in the justice system. I don't even know where to begin. But, I've been practicing 30 years now in the criminal justice system, state courts, federal courts, throughout our entire nation. And I got to tell you, the number one problem in my view is that the laws are wrong, right? We still have victimless crimes in the criminal justice system. It's creating a huge overburden of work on both prosecutors and defense lawyers, instead of focusing on real criminals, people who do bad things to other people to create victims. We're out enforcing morality. And of course, we don't all agree on morality. And of course, that is what bothers us the most about the left, right? They have an idea about how people ought to live. And that's exactly what they're trying to impose on all of us. This needs to end. It's un-American.
Marc, you say you've been doing this for 30 years. Have you seen more changes recently? Everyone's waking up today and they see all the January 6th craziness and the Trump indictments, and everyone's looking around thinking, oh my gosh, my Justice Department has turned against me. Has this happened slowly, or have you been shocked by how fast this has happened?
Well, look, high-profile cases, and I've done lots of them, high-profile cases are always different, right? Because the press is watching, people are watching. But the run-of-the-mill, day in, day out justice system hasn't really changed that much. I wish we focused more time on real criminals and less on a bunch of regulatory things. On the federal level, I think probably now if there's been a change, the federal government's a little bit more aggressive on little rinky-dink gun-type crimes, victimless-type crimes. On the other hand, we have a much better Supreme Court now than we have ever had in my entire lifetime. And I know many of your listeners are very concerned about the Second Amendment, but the Second Amendment has never been safer than it is right now, notwithstanding Joe Biden's pronouncements, because the Supreme Court, which of course has the power to declare any law unconstitutional, is very solidly 6-3 in the majority, pro Second Amendment. So I feel like we're going to have a huge expansion of gun rights in our country in the coming years.
Talk to me, Marc, real quick about this insurance, because I sure bought it the first time I got a concealed carry permit. It sounded like a good idea. I didn't want to get caught in a bad shoot with my pants down and no legal representation, so I bought it. I've obviously since canceled it, but tell me about this insurance.
Yeah, a lot of people want to buy insurance in the event they get charged with a criminal act. But the problem is there's public policy restrictions on insurance companies for covering people who actually commit crimes or get involved in what we call intentional torts. They just simply can't do it. They're prohibited. So many of these insurance companies say, well, we think it's self-defense. And if it's self-defense because you're presumed innocent, then we can still cover it. However, many of them also say if you take a plea or you're found guilty, understanding over 90% of people in the justice system eventually plead to something, then all benefits end. So you may have some great civil coverage, but you can't use it if you've pled guilty. This is why it's much better to go with a law firm for legal representation rather than an insurance company. We don't have those kinds of restrictions. I know people think they're always going to be in a good shoot, but you don't get to pick the day and time of a self-defense incident, right? You may have been drinking in your house peacefully and some bad guy comes in. You may be sleeping in the middle of the night. You could make a bad decision. And if you do, and you screw it up, and you actually try to act in self-defense, but you committed a criminal act, and that's normally why you get charged in the first place. You got an insurance company, you may very well have lots of problems. You have a law firm that's staffed with experienced criminal defense lawyers, no problem at all. And that's why we created at our firm the Attorneys on Retainer program.
Marc, to wrap this whole thing up here, if someone is in a bad shoot, a bad incident of some kind, and they have wisely gotten you guys on retainer, you're their first call, right?
It really depends. It's very hard to give general advice that applies to every possible situation. What I like to tell people is, look, if human life is in danger, somebody's going to die, then you got to call 911 first. I think you should be very careful what you say to 911. Essentially, look, there's been a shooting. We need medical attention. Here's the address. Please send help. Goodbye. And then you call the attorney. We staff our line 24/7, 365 with either me or other lawyers standing by. And we're going to tell you, don't make any statements. And of course, make sure you don't present as a threat to the police when they show up. Your main concern at that point is to survive the encounter with the police. So you really got to be very careful. The best advice is to be a responsible gun owner, right? Get some training, make some plans in advance, try to avoid these types of situations so you don't put yourself in jeopardy of being prosecuted. But if you are, better to have a law firm behind you than an insurance company.
No doubt. Marc, Semper Fi, my brother. I appreciate you. Come back. Take that advice. In this day and age, have an attorney. Attorneys for freedom, it's for normal people. You know, everyone knows the rich guy has attorneys on retainer, right? Normal people in this day and age with this justice system need one too. Get one, all right? This is for normal people, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Forget that garbage insurance where they can dump you. Go to attorneysonretainer.us. Promo code Jesse gets you money off, so make sure you use that. But go and sign up, all right? Don't wait until you need one to start scrambling for the number. Hold on, let me just watch I'm right first. No, get one now and then stop thinking about it, all right?